Good evening, everyone. This meeting has been according to the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:40-6, with adequate notice of this meeting provides the borough's two official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Amy, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilman Dean.
Here.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Here.
And Councilman Besh is a little under the weather today. Councilman Light.
Yes. Here.
Councilman Bullock.
Here.
And Council President Benjamin.
Here.
Thank you. Can you take us through a review of tonight's agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this evening we have a public hearing regarding a 2004 restriction waiver. We have one matter on for executive session, which is a litigation matter pertaining to borough auto records. We have a proclamation pertaining to Martin Luther King Jr., approval of council minutes from December 18th, one ordinance on, which is first reading by title. There are a total of 14 resolutions on this evening, 4 matters of correspondence, payment of bills totaling $661,320.43, council reports, and conclude with public comments. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any council comments on agenda items?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Okay. Amy or Mr. Rizzo for the public hearing? Who do we turn this over to?
Maybe I should set it up.
Yep.
Okay. All right, this is a hearing for WC South Plainfield LLC, which is Wine Country. And they want to relocate, and that requires your approval for what's known as a place-to-place liquor license transfer. We're required to hold a hearing. This is under our borough code, section 136.6. The requesting party needs to establish for you, or at least provide you, with information as to the location being requested, the availability of other establishments or persons living, licensed establishments or persons in the area that might utilize the facilities. You should consider the general neighborhood, the characteristics and boundaries of the area. And those are just factors we list in the code. They're not binding on you. You may consider other factors. In order to approve the transfer, you have to determine that the approval will not result in undue crowding or concentration of licensed establishments, that the transfer would render a convenience and service to an extent not otherwise available to persons in the area of the proposed location, and that the transfer would be consistent with and be an asset to the neighborhood. After your discussion, you'll need to pass a resolution, either for or against, whatever your findings may be. You obviously have an opportunity to question the applicant, express your opinions. Anybody from the public, for or against, has a right to present evidence in their position. You cannot consider any comments that you may have heard from Facebook, on the street, etc., letters, etc. They must be here to present their position for you to consider what anyone else has to say. So I think with that, we should have the applicant make the presentation.
Mr. Abrams.
Good evening. On behalf of the applicant, Walter K. Abrams, Mr. Rizzo gave you the complete outline as to why we're here. In particular, what I want to deal with is the fact that we are within 2,000 feet of 3 other licensed establishments. Paolo's, Flanagan's. The only one who filed an objection to this, I understand it was a letter from Flanagan's who was concerned about a loss of business. I'd like to point out that my client's operation, their establishment, is for the packaged goods sales. The bulk of their business is wine. They do sell distilled spirits and beer as well. There is not a bar. You don't sit down and drink in the establishment. You purchase. When Flanagan's was concerned about maybe losing some business, I'd point out that we're all aware, we've all been to Flanagan's. It's a bar and a restaurant. They do not have a display case where you go in. It's not the kind of place you walk in to buy a 6-pack of beer or a couple of bottles of wine. If you go back long enough, way back when it was Lakeside did have that. They actually had a display case that was just off the side of the bar. You could go in there, you could buy some beer, you could buy some cold chilled wine. I don't ever remember them selling liquor, although they would have had the right to do it under the license. We're asking for the approval because, again, the 2,000-foot restriction has a purpose, and you're supposed to look into that, and that's what you're doing. You're granting licenses to people. People are paying, as you're well aware, substantial amounts of money for licenses in the state of New Jersey, and you want to protect that interest. We don't believe in any way we're in any way harming any of the other establishments, because we're not in direct competition with them in any way. You're not going to come into our place, sit down and have a drink. You're not going to eat. We're not a restaurant. And you're not going to go into the other establishments and purchase your liquor or your wine. You're going to come to us. You may recall for several decades, about 250 feet away, right across the street, South Plainfield Liquors was located right across the street from the center without any problems, in the same establishments. And no one is, well, Paolo's wasn't there at the time. But there haven't been any problems. There weren't any problems at that point in time. My client's license is clean. They're on a fine establishment. They have several locations throughout the state. And they have business interests. They have some partners who were involved outside of the state without ever having any problems.
Just for the record, where are they now and where are they intending?
Presently, they're in Hadley Center, and they're proposing to move right across the street next to Chiquio's Center, which is, I say, right across from where South Plainfield was for many years.
Any questions of the council?
My only concern is, you know, the kids that are around there, especially when you're going there, obviously when it's nicer out with Dunkin' Donuts and Chichio's, and they're gonna be kind of hanging out in front of a liquor store.
Well, it's, if you're familiar with your operation, you wouldn't call Wine Country a liquor store. I mean, I think a liquor store, when you say a liquor store, has a connotation. It's not a liquor store, it's a wine store. I mean, this is not a place where people walk in to pick up a couple of pints of booze. You've got Woody's, which is over here, right around the corner from Quick Check, and across from 7-Eleven. I'm not aware of any problems they have there. There are plenty of kids that go into Quick Check after school and hang there as well. It's the center is zoned for it. It's a permitted use there. They're not the type of establishment that would in any way look to sell to underage persons. And if you're talking about somebody, well, let me see if I can get somebody to go to buy it, that's not the spur of the moment type of thing that a kid's going to do. If a kid's looking to get liquor, they're going to go to a place and wait for somebody to walk by and see if they can get them to go in. I don't know that that's a problem anywhere in South Plainfield. We've all heard of that happening, but I don't know what happened in South Plainfield.
Do you know if they currently sell or in their location at the mall, or if they're planning on selling at a new location, any kind of smaller, let's call them single-serving size hard liquors or anything like that?
I don't. My client was supposed to be here. The only thing I can gather is that the weather is really bad on some of the roads. They're talking 13, 14-mile backups on 78. There was some severe backups on the Garden State Parkway. If they have that, if that's what the council's problem is, I can assure you that is not an integral part of their business. If you didn't want them to sell the little, talk about what you get on the airplane.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in my personal
I think that's what you mean.
Yeah, exactly, a little bottle of
We're using it in South
rum.
Carolina, and now you find on the airplane.
I'm not really familiar with them, but I've heard about, little bottles of rum or anything like that, or vodka, whatever.
I've seen them in movies.
Okay, calm down. Yeah, I think that, I don't know about the council, but to me, that would certainly alleviate some of that concern that, either somebody's going in there and buying these things. And it also, I mean, never mind just kids as well, it's, it would prevent legal age adults from probably doing the same thing in that particular location, and I think that would be a concern as well. So aside from somebody going in there and purchasing something, I don't think we want people walking out of there and consuming as they hit the sidewalk. I'm not, I think I've been in Wine Country a couple times. I'm not quite sure that they sell that, so I was kind of asking. But I know a lot of places will have that at the registers and stuff. My personal, comfort level would be that they don't sell that at that location if this council were to approve that transfer.
I did also have one question. So you said that the majority of their business is wine, obviously.
Well, he told me today is 40, a little over 40% of the sales of wine, and the other is a combination of liquor and beer, and it's pretty even. They expect, the studies that they've done and the way they operate, they expect that moving to this location, the wine sales would go up, and the beer and the liquor. Beer wouldn't necessarily go down much, but they think the liquor would go down. They have, certain times of the year, they have an influx of Rutgers students that come in there and purchase, all lawful, but they do have that because, when you're in Piscataway doesn't have a lot of shopping in Piscataway, so you have to leave town a lot of times to get something. Moving over here, they think there'll be more clientele of people in the town buying the wine, people frankly going into Chichio's
Right.
to bring a bottle of wine in. It's a BYO.
And their current location is right behind the Regal Cinema as well, right?
Yes.
And next to
It was, Justice is now closed, but it was next to Justice as well.
Yes.
Correct.
to your recollection, there's been no issues
No,
that might be concern of any,
no,
and also Target and stuff like
no, they have no blemish on their record.
So I had a follow-up question regarding construction. That construction, as I understand it, is being done by the landlord. That has not been done by
There is,
the applicant.
from what the landlord has told me, that the landlord has a teensy bit of work the landlord has to do. My client has work that has to be done.
Right.
The lease has been agreed to, all the terms are agreed, subject to the council approving it. Obviously, if the council doesn't approve it, no one's gonna go in there and do the work if it's not approved.
Right.
So it's contingent upon the approval, and if there's an approval, they have a period of time. What we were originally looking for, I had sent a letter to the council back at the end of November or the beginning of December, asking that if there was an approval, that it be effective. At that time, I asked for February 1st. Since we lost the month when we had tabled it last month, we would ask it be effective March 1st, which gives them sufficient time to get in, make the changes they have to make so that they can move into transition and not have to close down their business for 6 weeks or 7 weeks.
So just as a point of clarification for the public and those who may be watching on television, your client has not begun any process with regard to retrofitting that space for his business,
Physical
correct?
work? No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was
Just
clear.
negotiating the terms of the lease.
Okay.
The lease is subject to that, and no work has been done at all. And most of it has to be done by my client. They have the boxes they have to move in, they have shelves. The boxes are a big thing, cooling boxes.
maybe a legal question, but is some kind of at least agreement in principle on the lease required for them to even come in front of the board here and contemplate those? Or is that not even?
No.
Okay. Any other council comments, questions?
Just one more. You had mentioned that you expect that their wine sales would go up. Why is that with Woody's being, right there, and you got Byron, Liquors not too far away as well?
Well, I don't know how much they're gonna go up. He talked about his percentages. So I don't know that he's gonna say, well, we're going to sell more wine. They expect that by moving over here, they'll be selling somewhat less liquor, and beer in particular. Because he says they have fairly good sales over there with the Rutgers students. And moving further away, they would probably find a different place to purchase their product. So he expects the wine and the beer to go down. I don't know that the gross will change. I'm sure he's hoping it will change, but the percentages would go down because of losing that customer population.
I have a question as well. What type of security system do you have? Do you have cameras that, are recording every purchase and who comes in and out of the store?
Well, I've been in the store and I've seen cameras, exactly how they work. I don't know what they do, but they have a security system.
I mean, if there was anything, like the concern that Councilman Dean brought up, which is my concern as well, there are a lot of children who are underage who happen to hang out outside all the time. Dunkin' Donuts, Chichio's Pizza, and it is very easy when you are within 10 feet of a door to see somebody come in. Is there any way to record something like that?
Well,
Would they be
as I
willing
said,
to do that?
they have security cameras, but they're not selling to minors.
I'm not saying they would sell directly to the minor. I'm saying that if a minor approached somebody, is there any security that would catch that outside? And the camera presence alone may put that off.
Well, there probably isn't, since if they don't actually have a lease, they haven't done any work, but
Well,
are you requesting that?
If you're requesting a security camera on the outside, they're liable to want one or have one.
Right.
You know, this day and age, if you're out somewhere, you've got about a 90% chance that someone's taking you. So,
Yeah, no,
Dunkin'
Johnson just installed security cameras on the
yeah,
outside.
yeah.
I would feel more comfortable.
But to have the security camera, I know they have them on the inside because I haven't been there recently, but I've been in the store, I know they have a security camera. The workings of it, I don't know. But they wouldn't,
So I think
wouldn't have a problem putting a security camera.
we'd be more
on the outside.
comfortable with something on the outside covering.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another thing.
It'll be beneficial to them. I mean,
Right. Yeah, one of the other things I noticed, I was over there today, tonight in the dark, underneath there, you know, where the sidewalk is going into each store, the overhead has lights in it, but they haven't worked in years. And it is very dark under there, and I think that's what causes a lot of the crowding. It's dark, it's, you know, people just hang out under there. There's a way that, since they are doing the renovations over there, that they can have those lights working or LEDs installed so
Yeah,
that
that-
brighten out the outside of the store.
That would be the landlord's responsibility. The
Okay.
landlord happens to be sitting here this evening. So he heard you, and I'll make sure if he had trouble hearing you, in case you
He's
leave,
back there.
make sure the
Yeah.
lights are working.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can answer.
Yeah, and if they're not, frankly, then the code enforcement officer should go out and make sure they do, because
Yeah, 'cause
that's part of the,
it's
that's
not
part of the
it's
site
not well
plan.
lit, and
Right.
and I think with having it better lighting underneath that canopy would enhance. the
That's
safety.
beneficial to
Exactly.
my client.
For safety reasons, if nothing else.
Yeah, nobody wants the outside of the store.
Exactly.
So we can get a promise that the lighting will be fixed or
Yeah.
corrected.
And the cameras outside as well? Is that?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. I think it's beneficial to the business when they have the security camera.
Can the cameras be contingent upon the license transfer?
Yeah, that's
Of course.
it can add conditions.
Of course.
As well as the prohibition of selling any kind of small
Right.
outlet
I agree.
containers.
But I can't, just to follow Councilman Warlock, I mean, the applicant can't promise you the lighting, because
Correct.
it's for the landlord to do. Just so we're clear on that.
Well, can we ask the landlord? He's here.
Yes, he's
Yeah,
out here.
but you can't require that.
No, I'm not saying we can require, but maybe we can get his answer.
Yeah.
One of the things is that all the lighting underneath the canopy isn't working, so it's very dark in that area.
The landlord tells me that he has already taken out a permit to do work on the line,
Great.
the exterior line.
We
Thank
just
you.
would have his name for the record.
That's Michael Murray.
Michael Murray. Okay.
So the council has two concerns. Number one, we don't know if you plan on selling small bottles of alcohol.
Yes, and pints and half pints.
No,
Where
like-
is it? Oh, yeah? Okay.
But we
What's the
prefer you
reason for
don't.
that?
It's because it's in an area with the pizza place and Dunkin' Donuts is frequented by a lot of minors. I think the council is not comfortable with that, type of sale in the area.
Well, minors, we prove,
We understand that, but it still is a concern that, that an of-age individual could go in there, purchase alcohol. And then actually it could be of any size, but certainly a lot easier to hide if it's a small single-serve type, type of product.
to hide after the purchase is made?
Even consuming along the front of that establishment or in the general area,
No.
that's a concern. And the other concern is to have some security cameras outside of that area as well to kind of deter any possibility, that some underage individuals might attempt to.
Yeah.
If I could just fill in, the
Yeah.
concern is not that we serve minors. Actually, the concern is more that a minor grabs a hold of an adult, makes the adult into a purchase. The security camera on the outside would be beneficial to law enforcement if they had that ability.
Mike, do you mind if the camera goes on the outside? No problem. The minis, mine is Scott Mayville, M-A-Y-V-A-U-L. The mini, is everyone in favor of us not selling minis?
Everyone here?
Yeah.
Up there. I can only speak for myself.
You guys
but
can
I
all
think we have
advocate for yourselves, but
a fairly strong consensus regarding that.
Yeah. Because I've been involved in a lot of stores, this is the first time I've ever heard of anything like that. One of the aspects of our business is gift giving, and we use those minis, and we put them in other types of containers and sell them as a gift package. It's a nice gift that we sell, and, would you approve, would there be some flexibility?
Yes,
in-
yeah.
Well, I think if I understand you correctly, in that instance, you're taking the minis and you're putting them in a basket or a
Yes.
box of some sort,
That's correct.
preparing them as a gift.
Right.
That's a little different than actually selling them.
the ability
Right
to
at the
purchase.
counter.
Right at the counter as an individual purchase. Individual purchase.
So how would what would be acceptable language so that we could sell them as gifts?
Sale of individuals.
Selling it, yes.
What are they called, minis?
Yeah.
Right.
The sale of
Sale of
individual.
individual mini bottles.
Right.
As a single unit?
As a single unit,
So if
that they
we
may be sold as a gift package with other product.
Or just that, the minis in a box without anything else?
See, sometimes the minis come in a box. You go and you can buy 6 of them, you can buy 8 of them.
See, I don't really have
In- in
concern
a box.
with minis if there's gonna be the security camera out there and the lights, because, that's just me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If there's a security camera and the lighting is, I don't think I would have too much of a concern with it.
You guys, what do you think?
I like the idea of not having little minis at the counter. I think it just keeps the client,
Yeah.
just a little bit, make the clientele feel safer. It's a wine business, and you want to have that shown, having little minis when you're coming in and buying that one bottle and walking out and possibly drinking it in the parking lot or whatever. We want to try to keep that from happening.
Doing shopping, cars.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I don't have a problem with, if they're part of a gift pack or they're part of a 6-pack. I would prefer not having individual units sold of.
Or the sale of individual minis.
Any other council comments, questions?
No, thank you, glad that you made it.
Just open up the
Offer your
public.
insight.
Just to clarify, it's banning the sale of individual minis,
Right.
but if they're as part of a gift package or a box or something like that, they'll still be able to sell it.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we will open it up for public comments, questions.
Calvin Gross, 111 Ralph Avenue, South Plainfield. I'd like to know the need for that location to be used as a liquor store. What survey have they done? Did they have any research? What was their methodology gathering the information saying that we needed a liquor store in that mall?
It's an applicant question, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't know.
Well, we looked at all the available locations, alternatives to where we currently are. And this was a location where I thought the liquor store would be successful and that it would benefit the community.
Benefit the community, how? Because I asked, what's the need for another liquor store?
Well, as far as the need for another liquor store, there are several licenses in town, and that's all the licenses that are in town. So we have to operate in some location within the town. This shopping center right now looks like a rundown shopping center. When we come in, it's going to be revitalized. The center will look a lot better than it does right now. And I think that
Mr.
the
Mayor, I
business...
don't need pejorative language about what looks good or looks bad. The question is, what's the need? Who established that we needed another liquor store this close?
Well, this isn't an additional one, this is an existing.
Yeah, it's not
I
an,
know, he's moving from Hadley Center, which is a distance,
Right,
and it's still South Plainfield.
correct.
I've heard of 40% of the business is wine. How does he know that 40% of the business still will be wine? And I will say the obvious. The obvious is, you're my governing body and you set the community standard. So if you don't want something, you can say they can't have it. But my question is still germane.
So you're asking him how he came up with that particular location, and did he do any studies? I think his original,
But
his
I'm
answer,
listening to his language, and this language suggests that it's run down in the city.
I don't know if he said seedy, rundown maybe meaning that there's not,
Vacancy.
there's a vacancy.
Vacancy.
Maybe it was a poor choice of words, but there's a vacancy there. Obviously, that wouldn't be there. I think they are, I don't know, you're looking, I don't want to answer for the applicants because I'm not aware. Are you looking at doing any additional enhancements to that unit, or is it just going to be that the store is going to open and there's not going to be a vacancy? Is there any other aesthetics that you're doing, any upgrades on the facility or the mall?
So refacing the exterior.
So there's a little
Well,
work.
you know my question. My question is,
Well, you're asking how he selected that location.
and what's the need?
Well, I think, if I'm not.
Because
Yeah.
there's Quick Check, Giacca's, a liquor store, and CVS. Sometimes you need to be over there to see how people come in and out of that liquor store lot right there. And when they're making a left turn in or the right, and they just come and go. The proprietor has no control over the consumer. But I can guarantee you, the consumer, if they have to blow into a breathalyzer, there may be some tickets issued. That's my conjecture. But I'm telling you that I can't, I'm listening and I'm saying, well, 40% of his business is wine, and he wants to improve his wine sales. How does he know?
I don't think that's what, I think what. and
I
he's
listened to
explained-
the attorney.
Yeah, but I think what he explained was because it's on the border of Piscataway and you have Rutgers, you would expect that there would be less beer sales, because the college students obviously aren't gonna come all the way into South Plainfield to purchase beer anymore at this location. So his beer sales may go down, and thereby the total percentage of business, his wine actually goes up. Doesn't mean he's gonna sell anything more or not. Is that accurate from what's correct? That's what I think he's saying, and I think that makes perfect sense to me. If you're not in such proximity to Rutgers, the students are gonna have to find another location to go buy beer. There's probably not too many students going to buy, wine.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that there are projections based on the change in the location and the demographics that are gonna be shopping. So,
I don't think he would open up if he didn't know he could do
That's
a
the-
good
But again,
business in the area.
Right, I think the question is basically still for the applicant is, and I think he, in a way, again, I don't want to put words into your mouth, I think he answered it. He's looking for a probably certain size building. This is one of the ones that were available.
Fine, I heard things that made me say, how do you know your wine sales will stay at 40%? That was the presentation.
Right.
Thank you.
thank you, we appreciate your comments.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, close the public portion. I guess at this point, we'll ask for a motion to either approve or,
And if you're gonna have a motion to
Reject.
approve, it would be conditioned on installation of security camera for the outside area, barring the sale of individual mini bottles, and the transfer would be effective March 1, 2018.
do we have a motion? And the lighting is not in order.
You can't be in there because that's part of the landlord.
Can't even say that there was a promise by the landlord or anything.
Well, he said on the
Not in
record,
the
he said on the record that he would agree to it, so. It's on the record that he did say that he
Would
would
you
do
include in the resolution, written memorialization of the resolution?
He did indicate. Well, yeah, he
You already
indicated
pulled
he
the
pulls
permits.
permits. Anything else, Mr. Abrams, anything else to,
No, that was it.
okay. All right, at this point, we'll ask for a motion either way.
To add it to the meeting?
It's on the meeting, motion to,
Actually, vote on it, yes.
So moved.
motion to approve or reject.
Approve.
We got a motion to approve by Councilman White
With the conditions.
with the conditions. Second by Councilman Dean. Okay, Amy, can you call the roll?
Yes. Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
It passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion for executive session resolution 18-42, litigation borough auto workers?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Faustini, seconded by Council President Benjavanga. All in favor? Anyone opposed? We will have executive session for tonight. Public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none, close the public portion. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's agenda meeting.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Seeing no reason to delay, the rights of the public meeting again. This meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting also being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Amy, will you call the roll once more?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Here.
Councilman White?
Here. Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Here.
And Council President Benjamin?
Here.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Councilman Bullock.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin this new year, Lord, bless this governing body, grant the wisdom to make fair and just decisions for our borough. We ask that you help strengthen and inspire us to work together for the continued improvement of South Plainfield. Amen.
Okay, at this point, I'll open up once again for public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Tonight we have a proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas each year America sets aside a day to remember a giant of our nation's history and a pioneer of the civil rights movement. During his lifelong struggle for justice and equality, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave a mighty voice to the quiet hopes of millions, and he reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And whereas he challenged America to make good on its founding promise, he called on every lover of freedom to walk alongside their brothers and sisters. And whereas we honor all who marched, bled, and died for civil rights, and we celebrate the great victories of the last half century of civil rights and voting right laws, new opportunities in the classroom and the workforce, a more fair and free America, not only for African Americans, but for us all. And whereas we are also reminded that our journey is not complete, it is our task to build on the gains of past generations, from challenging new barriers to vote to ensuring the scales of justice work equally for all people. And we must advance another cause central to both Dr. King's career and the civil rights movement, the dignity of good jobs, decent wages, quality education, and a fair deal. And whereas Dr. King taught us that an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of individualistic concerns and the broader concerns of all humanity, in honor of this spirit, Americans across the country will come together for a day of service. By volunteering our time and energy, we can build a stronger, healthier, and more resilient communities. Today, let's put aside our narrow ambitions, lift up one another, and march a little closer to the nation Dr. King envisioned. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Pienish, Mayor of the Borough of South Plainfield, do hereby proclaim and announce January 15, 2018 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the Borough of South Plainfield, and urge all citizens to observe this day with appropriate civic, community, and service projects in honor of Dr. King. At this point, I will ask Mr. Gross to join us once again up front to accept the proclamation. For those of you who don't know Calvin, he is a 25-year veteran of our Recreation Commission, and a great job that he does on that, and also Councilman Wood.
I don't know, he's going to take pictures of that.
David, if you give me your phone, I'll take a picture. Mine died. Just open up.
Sorry.
Oh.
Wait, I didn't get it. Sorry.
That just didn't work. She's in another one.
No, wait, hold on. One more.
I just pressed the white dot.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
okay, press the white dot.
I did.
I did too, but I didn't hear mine. So
What?
I don't know
I
what
can
that
see.
means. Okay.
Thing dangle thing.
Probably on it now.
If not, we can do it again.
It came out.
Okay.
Cool.
My phone died, or I would have done it with mine. Did it come out?
Okay, can I get an approval of the council minutes, December 18th, 2017, agenda, public and executive? A motion, please. Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Wolof. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Dean? Councilwoman Faustini? Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
So what is it, back up, because then there'd be big.
Okay,
Thank you
mine
for
died.
introduction, ordinance 2102.
A sewer capital ordinance authorizing acquisition of a utility truck and supervisor's pickup truck for the sewer utility in Borough South Plainfield, County Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2102?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dean, seconded by Council President Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. The public hearing for ordinance 2102, final adoption will be scheduled for January 22nd, 2018 at approximately 7 p.m. Can I get a motion for the adoption of resolutions 18-43 to 18-56?
Second.
Motion by Council President Benjavanga, seconded by Councilman White. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Correspondence, zoning board minutes, December 5th, 2017, Board of Health minutes, December 12th, 2017, Cultural Arts Commission minutes, July through November 2017, Environmental Commission minutes, November 8th. Can I get a motion? Motion by Councilman Wolof, seconded by Council President Benjavanga. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
Thank
Passes 5-0.
you. On payment of the bills for $661,320.40. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Wolof. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Benjamin?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Mr. Rizzo.
Progress.
Mr. Cullen.
Yes, Mayor, just a couple items. One, I'll let Councilwoman Faustini discuss the details, but we did have a significant water pipe burst in the panel the day of the storm, and there'll probably be some resolutions coming in the coming meeting, either next meeting or the meeting after, once we get a full.
So assuming all that damage is covered by the JIP.
We're assuming it's covered up by the JIF. We're still trying to get a handle of what the cost of the pipe is, and, what the cost of the remediation of the water there was, as well as rerouting of the pipes and everything else, external pipe bursting for the different locations. Recycling, I don't know if everybody knows it, but we had a problem with recycling last week. We posted today that the recycling will be picked up this Thursday for the north end of town. I've seen a few people ask where the north side of town is, so pretty much anything from the railroad tracks to the Plainfield border, I guess you could say, is considered the north end of town. Anybody who normally has a Thursday pickup, we're going to get a Thursday pickup this week and a Thursday pickup next week.
I think that's probably the easy way to explain it. Somebody asked that, just like you were scheduled for a pickup last Thursday, you will pick up this Thursday.
So, yeah, and I spoke with Alice about this earlier, and I think, because there'll be another storm, and it'll fall on another recycling day, and I don't know, I thought it was probably highly likely that they were not going to come out and pick up on Thursday. Now, unfortunately, because Solterra did not notify Alice and the borough until 7 o'clock, 7:43 in the morning, I think somebody quoted exactly the time, that they were not going to pick up. It's very difficult for the borough to communicate to its residents and say not to put your recycling out, because if they decide they are going to start going out and collecting, and we told people not to, now they're wondering why they didn't put stuff out when they should have, and they're certainly not going to come back and pick those things up. So I just think we need better commitment from Solterra that when you've got a kind of storm like this, that the prudent thing is probably to cancel it early in advance and work on scheduling that alternate date. That would have been the easiest thing to do, but unfortunately I think we were kind of handicapped in being able to do that for the reasons that I said. So I think that's what we've got to get across, because it's only first week in January, and we know that we've got a lot more winter in front of us. And I don't know about anybody else up here, but I certainly don't want to see all the confusion and the questions. I'm sure Alice got a ton of calls. I know some of us were trying to reach her on the weekend, because just trying to provide advice and guidance to the residents was kind of impossible if you don't know what the vendor's doing. And I think the vendor actually was trying to do it. And look, I think we understand that they're out there. It's probably not the easiest thing to have picked up even the day or two after the storm, with the way that the plows are putting up there. But my point, I think, would have been a lot easier probably for Len's folks and the contractors as well, is if we didn't have these cans out there. And to me, there's really no reason for that. The decision should have been made early. It should have been called off. And we should have just been working on when is the alternate date going to be, not trying to pick these things up. So.
I think one of the concerns we had, because I'd spoken to you, Mayor, on that Wednesday night, and to Glenn, it was, how do we get a hold of Solterra, and we know that and stuff like that, but there should be a contact at the county and Solterra that we should be able to call for, to have the ability to get answers as to what's going on with the next day pickup.
Yeah, and I think their answer, when we finally did get something from Alice, that they were going to make a decision in the morning is not acceptable.
Yeah, well,
That's the problem.
I think they did do a couple of streets.
they did it, they tried a couple of streets. I think it falls on both parts, because even though the storm had changed from being what was supposed to be only a couple inches to possibly being up to a foot in our area, regardless of what the snow was gonna be, they were still calling for really severe winds.
Correct.
So the borough, we should have had Alice or Glenn or ourselves, whatever, had made that decision and said, you know what, we're not gonna have you pick up, because the winds are gonna be so strong regardless, the stuff's gonna be blowing all over the town, they're not gonna pick it up, we're not gonna be liable to go out there and pick it up. And you would just have, you would have residents complaining about that then as well.
And I want to make sure we have the ability. right?
Sure, absolutely,
Make
that's what I'm
sure that we
saying.
need to tell them,
Yes.
hey, we don't want you to pick up tomorrow, or the county.
Yep.
And say, can you do it next Thursday? Because, what if they say no?
Exactly.
Then that's,
Well, then they're making themselves look really bad because of.
because they have, how many
Exactly.
other towns that they show up?
Oh, yeah, that's a concern.
All right. That is kind of essentially what took place. I mean, on Wednesday morning of last week, they were only calling for like 1 to 3 inches tops. At that time, Solterra said they still wanted to pick up. At 5 o'clock, Alice reached out to them. By then, we saw the weather forecast was starting to change. People were already starting to put their
Well, yeah, because it's the night before.
yes, they're already starting to put their cans out. Solterra said that they wanted to, and then what finally happened was Then when I think Alice reached out again, it was 8 or 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. Then it was, well, we'll make a decision in the morning.
Right.
So somehow, and, you know, I didn't realize that at that point, but, you know, by the time you got to 8 o'clock, pretty much most of the town already had their cans out. So,
And there should be a flexibility where
And
us, the town and the county, whoever, should have the ability to make a decision by X amount of time in that 4-acre store.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the storm could have happened at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it wouldn't have been as bad.
Right.
well, and then on top of it, they came out on Saturday, they really didn't finish. They then communicated to Alice that they would do the whole town on Monday, and then they turned out coming back on Sunday.
Right.
So, and then they tell us today, well, no, we came on Sunday. We said, well, you
You
know,
didn't
the
finish.
town wasn't done. So we got them to agree that they're gonna do a pickup this coming Thursday, and they'll go, and then the regular schedule will take place again the following Thursday. So there'll be consecutive Thursdays. Hopefully by this Thursday, there'll be some melting that'll take place. It'll be easier to get to the cans. You know, I think that'd be a much better, even if your stuff is out there now, much better to let some of this melt over the next 2 days when it's
Yeah.
hitting the 40s than to try to rush out there tomorrow.
Yeah, and it was a perfect storm too. You had Christmas, you know, you had Christmas, Hanukkah, you know, New Year's, and no pickup since then.
This is a massive amount of recyclable.
Right,
bag.
A lot of people had 4 or 5 bags out there and that stuff was going around.
Well, you know, and that'll lead me to the other comments I was gonna make, Mayor. At that same day, we were debating on what to do with the dog clinic. And
Yeah.
at that time, it was, you know, we don't really want people standing outside in 0-degree temperatures, which is what they were forecasting with dogs. But we figured, let's let this go one more day. Well, the next day happened to be Thursday, and then by the time Thursday rolled around, we realized we were gonna be doing, Public Works was gonna be doing, you know, town cleanup with snow versus being able to, you know, accommodate people's rabies shots. So, and that's gonna take place this Saturday. And, you know, and just the last part of that, I wanna thank Public Works and the police department. I mean, they've had to deal with a lot of snow, they've had to deal with a lot of water main breaks. There's been a lot of things that have gone on, you know, that people see, a lot of things that people don't see. I mean, we had a water main break on, I think it was South Clinton near Tyler, and then later on, we have another water main break. I'm thinking it's the same one that wasn't fixed, but no, it happened to be a different one. So we've had a lot of things going on, whether it be, that's all weather related, that, you know, don't necessarily happen at 9 o'clock in the morning. They happen at all different hours with people, you know, plowing, salting, and the police out there all the time. And so for all of those people that are involved, emergency services and public works, I just want to say thank you with that progress.
So, Mr. Miller.
And we're out salting again tonight, Mr. Mayor, just so you know. So we're taking care of the main roads tonight and looking forward to enjoying at least a week of warmer temperatures.
Yeah. Well, look, anytime that the complaints of recycling outweigh the complaints of, you know, having plowed my roads, DPW should be happy. Right? So, in all seriousness, I think you guys did a great job, men and women out there. I was in, you know, coming through other areas, Piscataway as well as Edison, and I'll tell you, earlier on, I think our side roads and tertiary roads look a lot better than what I saw. So, nice job. Ms. Antonides. Thank you. Mr. Councilman Wallach.
I thought you were going in a different order. That's okay.
Go whatever way we want to.
No, we had a lot of concern about, we were talking about the new liquor license and the kids hanging out in front of Chichio's, and I know we have a anti-loitering laws in effect, so if it does get out of hand, or if the kids are loitering, we can always put that in the butt. So to me, that'll help it out somewhat with those laws in place, so. And Len, you did a great job. I told him the other day that I come from roughly Piscataways. I'm sliding all over the place, and I get to South Place. I'm like, wow, it's safe. There's salt in the road. So thanks for the good work, and thanks to the police department and fire department for all their hard work that they do. And with that promise.
Thank you, Councilman White.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just one announcement. Lobster Pub has actually sold their business to Faux Today, and that's like fat with a PH. It's PHO. For those of you who might be able to pick up on that. But they'll be having a grand opening this coming Saturday, so
Faux or faux time or something.
I'll explain to you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll catch you up later. So they'll be having a grand opening and ribbon cutting this coming Saturday. They're official. But it's going to be a new Vietnamese restaurant, and we wish them all success. And with that, best progress. Thank you.
Councilman Dean.
Yes, so we already touched base on recycling, so we don't need to go there. No, again, with Len and his crew, the snow plowing, you guys did an excellent job. I traveled pretty much through the majority of our counties around here now. And South Plainfield was definitely by far better shape than a lot of the surrounding towns and further out towns. So, you guys did a great job. That's it.
Councilwoman Fausti.
Just to, extend a little bit more information about what Administrator Collins said about the PAL. There was indeed a pipe that burst on Thursday. They believe it happened just after about midnight, and someone who was actually going to work out around 3 or 4 in the morning saw some water pouring out and started a chain of calls. So that the water at that time it was the back room over off the basketball courts. So the water had extended over the entire brand new basketball court and into the offices. So obviously we called for immediate emergency services, and they came right away and wet dry bathed. So machines went in there then to dry out everything and get all the water out and keep the moisture levels where they need to be. And it is reported to insurance, so everything should be covered. The floor, however, does not seem to have damaged. It was caught soon enough, and it is very well sealed. The company we dealt with, it's an excellent floor, so we're confident that it's going to be okay. And all the moisture levels were fine, and the PAL was back in business this afternoon. So,
Excellent.
with that progress.
Council President Benjamin.
I just want to say I look forward to being part of the spelling bee on January 23rd, and it's my first year doing that, so I look forward to doing that.
You're judging it, you're not in the spelling bee.
No. I'm
Making
not
sure.
judge. That's about it.
We're gonna get that list of words.
Thank you. At this point, I'll open up for public comments. Anything on your mind? Ms. Boyle.
Boyle, Van Fleet. A reminder, January 23rd, 6 o'clock at the South Plainfield Senior Center. It's a spelling bee for 4th and 5th grade. And thank you to everyone who's agreed to be a judge. I will get you the word list, the official word list. The students have, yes, I will deliver.
Is that the PAL? I see.
Senior Center, 6 o'clock. It'll be one quick trial run, so the students get used to standing up, saying the word, spell the word, say the word. And the rules will be read before it begins, and then we start the actual bid. Also, on February 6th is our annual blood drive. That's between the Mayor's Wellness Committee and the South Plainfield High School Student Council. It's in the auditorium, starts at 8 o'clock, ends at 2. There is an extreme blood shortage, so for anybody that can come out and give, it's open to anybody, residents, non-residents, students. If you're 16, you can donate. You just have to have a signed permission slip from your parent, and you have to bring ID. So that is, again, February 6th from 8 a.m. to 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Suzanne before Bullard Place. On behalf of the South Plainfield Cultural Arts Commission, I would like to invite everyone to audition for our 10th annual talent showcase.
Already?
Auditions are going to be February 3rd and 11th from 2 to 5 p.m. both days at Wesley Methodist Church. We're looking for all ages. We don't want to limit it to just kids. Adults can audition as well. And the showcase itself will be March 4th at 4 p.m. at Wesley Methodist. So I do hope that we do have some council participation this year. I mean, you have promised and shook on it numerous times. Not to put any pressure on you. But
All right, we're still refining our act. It's a big show. It's a big
I'll
number.
commit. I'll make the commitment
Okay.
right here, now.
I'm in.
Amen.
Okay. fantastic.
Oh, wait.
Be the
When is
worst,
it?
March 4th.
March 4th is the show itself.
might be the worst decision we make all year,
So, thank you.
but not a problem. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. We are going into executive session. You are more than welcome to stay and enjoy the amenities. We'll be back, everyone. Tonight's executive session did not result in any additional items to tonight's agenda. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Have a good evening.